It's Jason Gore from thatshelf.com. Congratulations on everything you did to make Top Gun Maverick so goddamn amazing.
Thanks, Shelf.
Thanks,
Let's
man.
dive into your specific role. If you could articulate exactly what it is that you did on the film.
Sure. I was the film's aerial coordinator and lead camera pilot. So it means I was responsible for all the flight sequences and bringing in the right people and the right tools and flying those camera aircraft to help make those shots in the movie.
Now, one of the things that this film has done an extraordinary job at is selling the story about what was done practically. But I'm just wondering from your perspective, if you could talk about the hybridization of a modern film like this, of the stuff you're doing and how it integrates with the stuff which is obviously either upped with computer graphics or simply done as a mix of compositing and actual on-camera stuff. If you could draw the line about what's done practically, what's not done practically.
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy. And I love this question. It's one of my favorites for this movie is from the very get-go, the very beginning, from Tom, Joe Kosinski, and Paramount, uh, everything had to be real. And if there was going to be something CGI, it was strictly an enhancement, right? So what that means for a guy like me is everything needs to be shot in camera. So we're telling Joe Kosinski's story and we're doing all of that in camera. There's always a subject aircraft. We're never shooting blank sky at all. You know, I always say from an aerial coordinator, my number one Top Gun Maverick rule was something's always in lens. So as you know, there's some aircraft that maybe are not readily available to us in the movie. Those are F-18s that are reskinned or enhanced, but we're never looking at blank sky. We're never just filming CGI, things. We're always filming real practical aviation assets that are flying in front of the lens.
Now, other than the obvious selling factor and the wow factor, that it's a real roller coaster, not a virtual roller coaster, as a filmmaker, what is the advantage of shooting practically versus not shooting, basically shooting plates? I assume a lot of your career is also shooting plates. So if you could just talk about what the actual advantages in terms of storytelling and filmmaking are actually shooting practically.
I'll give you this, Jason. I think that the audience can tell when something is real. I think we've seen a lot of other movies in our time, big, high grossing movies that are heavy on CGI and visual effects. And I think we can tell. And when we watch something like Top Gun Maverick, it feels real. It looks real. It's visceral. And the fact that we've told the audience that, this is all real flying and stunts, that makes it more fun. And I feel like when we go to the theater and watch this experience, it's more fulfilling to us when we see that on the screen, knowing that we're watching happened.
Now, that being said, again, I'm not pushing too hard on this, but this is your job. Clearly, some of it was augmented.
And
I think that
we weren't able to shoot down aircraft and have missiles flying through the air, right? So
yeah,
yeah,
of
there's
course,
definitely augmentation.
but independent of that, I think that, let's put it this way, I think bad CGI is bad CGI, just like bad aerial photography is bad aerial photography. And I think to only focus on the practical aspects, which is obviously your bailiwick, might do a disservice to those that are actually doing an extraordinary job of making the entire story tell. So if you could talk from your perspective about what you do to give the people that are doing the augmentation the best they can do. For example, there were no shots that were full replacement, but using the physics of reality, that sort of thing.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, what we had to do was give them a model. So if we had to replace something, for instance, the F-14, which is no secret, we've seen that in every trailer. Obviously, there's no F-14 readily available in the United States. What we had to do was film an F-18, and we use the flight controls, we use the vapors, the flight dynamics. And when CGI goes in there, the visual effects artists, and they replace that F-18 with an F-14, it looks real. And then one of the cool parts for me is when they would give me, proofs to check, and they wanted to run it by me and go, Kev, you're an aerial coordinator, you're a jet pilot. What do you think of this? And I would look at this footage that I shot of an F-18 with our aerial DPs operating the camera, and I'd go, it looks like it's there. Like, to me, that F-14 is what I was flying with. That's how good it looked. And that's due in large part to your point of us giving the proper elements to the visual effect team to make it look amazing. So there was never just a cartoon in the sky, right? There's a real airplane right there that's just reskinned, the same light, the same glints, the same textures, just reskinned, and that's why it looks so good.
How old were you when you saw Top Gun, and what did it do to you as a fighter pilot?
Well, I was born the same year that the movie came out in 1986, so just grew up in an aviation family. I'm civilian. I was never a fighter pilot. I'm lucky that I get to fly a little fighter trainer jet that I built into a camera platform specifically for the movie. That's the closest I'll ever get to being a real fighter pilot. But this movie is something I grew up with as a kid. You know, I've seen the original Top Gun hundreds of times. So, you know, pinching myself every single day that I was on set working on Top Gun Maverick, it was surreal. It was amazing.
And again, is this one of the Czech trainers? What is it that you're specifically flying?
Yeah, so the main jet I used on the movie is called an L-39. We trademarked it the Cinejet. This is a Czechoslovakian little fighter trainer. Such a great camera platform. And, you know, I drew a rendering of it in 2016 and I said, that is what we need to build for Top Gun Maverick. This will help us tell the story. And we built it. We built two of them with my partners, the Patriot Jet team and Helinet and the gimbal manufacturer Shotover. And it was incredible. It's maneuverable. It let me put that camera gimbal and the aerial DPs who operate it in places that we could never go before, as seen on the big screen when we watched the movie. And the secondary jet I used was a business jet. It's called a Phenom 300. My friend Jonathan Spano built that, and we flew two shotovers on that, which was great. And I used that at the aircraft carrier over the water, two engine reliability. You know, we can fly longer and faster. So both of those platforms at my fingertip throughout the movie made it so that we just choose the right tool for each shot.
So not to simplify this too much, but are you basically the equivalent of the Russian arm, but for aerial photography and
You're
moving
100%
forward
right.
this? Yeah.
Yeah, and I always, you know, I always tell myself, you know, everybody that, hey, I'm just a dolly driver in the air, you know, out of my aerial coordinator role
Well, you're
where I'm helping
technically
put
a
it together.
Steadicam driver in the air.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Exactly right. Yeah, it's out of my aerial coordinator role, you know, where we're helping design the sequences and put them together and the safety of it and the FAA permits. Once I'm in the aircraft, I'm just moving that dolly around the sky, that steady cam, if you will, so that the operator, the aerial DP, in this case, David Nolan, Michael Fitzmaurice, can make an awesome shot. So that's very fun for me to move the camera around the sky.
Now, not to get too deep into the actual meaning of the film, but one of the ironies of the film, when you see Tom Cruise at the beginning with the Lockheed Skunk Works plane, which is based on a real plane, which is really a drone. Part of this film is having that competition between a real plane, quote unquote, with a real pilot inside, quote unquote, or a drone pilot. What do you see as somebody who clearly makes a living, clearly has a thrill of being in the air? What is your view of the future of aviation? How's that for a complicated question?
That is an awesome question, Jason. If I take that the role of the movie and the process and the whole meaning behind that into my career, you know, maybe there's a day, one day, where I'm fully replaced by a drone or someone operating a camera, helicopter, jet in a trailer somewhere. But I can tell you right now, it can't do it. I mean, it comes down, you know, right now to the pilot in the box, and it really takes bodies in the aircraft right now and what I do to do that and have that creativity and flexibility. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll be replaced someday, but not today.
Not today, as it were. Obviously, the film comes out, has this incredible success. I'm wondering on a personal level, you've obviously spent years waiting for this to sort of come up and finally be embraced by audiences. What's your own reaction to this? And people who know you, what are the most silly things that they're asking you about this film?
Well, and to your first question, I couldn't be happier that the world got to see this movie in the theater. I think that was an incredible decision because, as you know as well as I do, the movie deserves to be seen on the biggest screen, the loudest sound system you could possibly see it. It is a thrill ride from start to finish, and it's a journey in this epic adventure. So I couldn't be happier about that. The delay was worth it. And as far as my friends, family, and colleagues, you know, I think we're all, you know, the same mindset that I'm very lucky, very fortunate to be involved in such an incredible project that'll live on forever. So I'm lucky.
There's been some incredible aviation shots in cinema history going back to the very earliest days of cinema. I'm wondering if you at all embrace sort of the history of this medium, if there's particular films that got aerial right that you actually used as the basis of just thinking compositionally about what was taking place on the big screen.
Well, of course. I mean, I think a true professional, you know, studies not only the art of what you do, but the history of where it's come from. And one thing you have to look at in the aerial cinematography space is how quickly and how great the technology has advanced. We really wouldn't able to tell the story without the technology that we use, and a lot of it was groundbreaking, from the stuff in the F-18s to what I was flying. So one is the technology. But two, you know, getting it right on past films. I feel like to tell an aerial photography story, you have to mix a recipe. of assets. It's mounted cameras, ground photography, helicopter, and jet. And that helps the audience understand what's happening. You can get lost in aerials, or it can actually pull you out of the story, I feel. But if you tell it right, and under Joe Kaczynski's supervision, I feel like we used aerial cinematography to tell this epic story and really get the audience, into the story and not taken out of the story in the proper, correct way. And that was mixing all those assets together. Other movies that have done that, by the way, the last Pearl Harbor, I think they did an incredible job at that. Dunkirk was phenomenal. One of my colleagues did that. So I absolutely pay attention to that stuff. That's how we learn and we study that. And that's how we get better.
We have to wrap, but in 30 seconds, what is the one thing you would love to see as technology is improving? What is the one thing you don't have that you want to see happen?
I want to go faster. I want to pull more G's, and I want to be able to put cameras in places they've never been before. So we raised the bar on Top Gun Maverick, and I'm not going to sleep till we keep raising it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. What a pleasure speaking with you. My best to you and your entire team. And having seen it multiple times, including in IMAX multiple times, thank you for reminding us that sometimes cinema is just a hell of a lot of fun and can actually be part of a really great movie as well.
Thank you, Jason. Pleasure meeting you.